Everybody, welcome back to Five Dirty Bikers Podcast, the podcast where even our guests enjoy spending time in Uranus.
It's so hot in Missouri, the fudge is all melting in Uranus.
Just
gonna
shit
say-
has to be.
We were talking about sending John Doe some fudge. I'm like, how are we going to get it there without it turning into diarrhea?
Right.
Well, you know a guy that can pick it up local, but we'd probably have to pack it on ice and ship it quick.
So, is it as hot as it was when we were there last year? or is it hotter?
Worse. Worse.
Oh
you would
my
be on, you'd
God.
be on the ground panting and licking out of a bowl. I mean, it's bad.
Oh, that's
Well,
fucking.
he
it
does
was-
that just when the weather's nice.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to a lot of hot places, and that fucking place was brutal.
Yeah, it was.
It was
warm
really
down there,
hot.
for sure.
It's really bad this week. This will probably be the worst week we had. You know, everybody's talking about, and you guys have been talking about how wet it's been, but here in June, they were worried about having enough hay for, to bale hay to feed cattle and stuff and through the winter, because we had a really dry June. And then things just went nuts. And it didn't quit. August was wet.
Man. Yeah, there's been all sorts of crazy things going on in this country and Canada and stuff. It's just been wild. Everybody, just to give you a little insight on who we're talking to today, this is Mike from Riding in the Ozarks, somebody we have met in Uranus at the meetup actually last year.
Yeah.
And he came out, hung out for a little while, and then one of the days or two after at Hogs and Frogs, following the meetup
Yep.
another month or so afterward. And it was
Sure
good to
did.
meet you and Firecracker in person and hang out a little bit. Wish we could have done some riding and stuff, but I know that freaking meetup we had was just, it was like today. It was 115 stroke giving weather, no doubt.
It was hot.
Yeah, you want to keep moving and keep riding if it's that hot. If you're going to be out here walking around, it'll kill you. Get on the bike, and at least you'll feel like you're walking into a blow dryer, but it's better than standing in one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so you got a YouTube channel.
Yeah,
It's been going on about 3 years now.
almost 4. Technically
Almost 4?
4 since I started, but I didn't post my first video till like November. You know the rat run, Dustin?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like one of my first videos.
Oh, okay. So give everybody a little insight on like what your channel's all about and like your riding, what you do on your channel and all that stuff.
Yeah, kind of just, I mean, I'm a little bit all over the place, but it's kind of whatever I feel like. I do talk about, and what's probably more popular, what people know me more for, is talking about what's going on in the motorcycle industry and Harley-Davidson particularly. I somehow have acquired some sources that sometimes help me get information that nobody else has. But I talk about, rides we go on or rallies we go to, like Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue or Sturgis. I also share, installs and things like that. But most of the videos that like people really know me from are the Harley-Davidson, what they're up to, or like when they had the plant shut down and I figured out why, and the brake lines and that stuff.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, who are those sources? We'll edit it out. You can tell us.
I'll tell you the same thing I told the PR guys from Harley-Davidson at Sturgis. It's no corporate employees.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Fair enough.
No corporate employees. Wink.
No, I don't have any, as far as I know, none of them work there, but and Dustin may know from working at a dealership, sometimes dealerships hear things maybe from a sales manager. They tell a customer's not supposed to tell nobody else, but of course he wants everybody to know how much he knows. So then he wants to tell somebody that can tell you everybody. And then some of it's I've had, when I figured out where the picture for the Lowrider ST was taken, that was somebody who had been on a tour at the facility and they recognized the balcony and they said, I think I know where that's at. And a little work with Google Earth and we were able to confirm it.
Well, there you go.
Gotcha.
Went through the
There
back door.
There are a couple of I can't confirm because I don't know who they are, but I have heard there are a couple of corporate leaks. So
Yeah, I mean, I won't throw the person out if you know who they are on IG. The first person that leaked the Lowrider ST is also the same person that leaked the CVOs, and he talks about it, but I don't want to throw it out there. I know he had maybe some backlash or whatever. They wanted to take his video down on Instagram when it first came out, but he didn't give it to me. I just took some of that was what was leaked on Instagram, and then I did some homework with it. And stuff.
Yep.
But I think his source was somebody that was involved in corporate that did like a group text, from what I understand, and then it got shared and shared.
There you
Yep.
go.
Yep. I know who you speak of.
Yeah.
So, Mike, we have experienced some of the riding out in your neck of the woods. I don't think there's a lot of people in America that really know how good the riding can be and is in the Ozarks. Can you kind of walk us through like some of your best routes, what the roads are like? Because, me and Dave know, I know that some of these guys were in a car when we did them, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
could vouch for you knowing that, and Dave can as well, that, the roads that we went on when we met with the local were good. They were really, really good.
Right. This area where I live in southern Missouri is kind of like northwest Arkansas, but not quite as drastic for elevation change and things like that. But we have very few straight sections of road, to be honest, unless you're on the interstate. Some roads are in better condition than others. Some have better shoulders than others, but everything's very got elevation changes, twists and turns. One thing I like about it is we don't have a lot of roads with hairpin 10-mile-an-hour turns, that kind of thing. If that's what you're looking for the, Iron Mountain Road or the Devil's, the Dragon Tail or something like that. That's not what we have. But what we do have is roads that are more like the Pig Trail, where you can sweep through a turn at 30, 40 mile an hour most of the time. And, if you're paying attention, set yourself up, you'll be just fine. But they're not straight, and we have some beautiful scenery. You can be on the top of a hill riding across a ridge and pop out of a tree line, and suddenly there's a pasture on the side and you can see across some field and a river bottom for 8 miles.
Yeah.
I had people ride with us in northwest Arkansas that had rode in Sturgis, and some people said they liked the riding better. Not that the Black Hills isn't great, but it's, for me, when I go to South Dakota, I think it's great because it's different. I take what I have here for granted because I grew up in it. But,
Right.
Iron Mountain Road and Needles Highway are, kind of extremes, but they were designed for motorcycles. They're not your typical traffic road. If you just going down 385, it's not any better than anything we've got in the Ozarks, particularly on average.
So, Mike, let me ask you this, because you commented a little bit ago about the weather. What's your optimal time of year that you think is the best riding time down there?
Oh, well, in March, we're still got snow occasionally. So
Okay.
they used to do the motorcycle license stuff. You had to have your bike registered by April. Well,
Okay.
because we still have April, we end up having a lot of rain and cold weather. They've moved back to June. So really May is where weather's really in that transition phase. So I would say late May to July. July is probably typically the hottest month now. Maybe rolling into August a little bit, but then from mid-August through the end of September is really good. October, the leaves start to change. You've only got about 2 weeks there, but if you can get out in those 2 weeks and really catch the leaves when they're really vibrant and changing, that's a great time to ride here. We have a lot of national forest land, Mark Twain National Forest and stuff. There's a stretch I can take you that brings you out 5 miles from Uranus, and you can ride that road for 15 miles and you'll be lucky if you see one car. You've just got the road to yourself, and it's a good road that doesn't get a lot of traffic, so it's not wore out and beat up and stuff, but it's real scenic and stuff. And you come up along the Mark Twain National Forest and come into the backside of that Fort Leonard Wood area.
So my mom lives in northern Arkansas, and she lives in the Ozarks, and I'm curious because you just mentioned, when we ride in April and May and March, you said the word cold. I don't believe that you guys have cold weather. I think you have. I think you have what I like to call cool weather.
Well,
But I
that
don't
might
think it's cold.
that might be White Walker, but we have had storms here in the winter and cold snaps where it stayed below freezing for 2 or 3 weeks straight, and that's unusual. But that's we do get weather like that. I mean, we've had weather that with wind chill was below zero for a few days at a time, but not a lot of that. So that's kind of what our cold is.
Right.
In May, we're not really cold as 50 degrees instead of 70 degrees in May.
Right.
But when you're
right,
trying
right.
to have a bike rally in May, 50 degrees kind of sucks, especially when nobody packed a hoodie or a jacket because they were expecting 70.
Right. No, it's a fair statement, because I think that cold is relative to where you are. When you're talking about warm weather that you have most of the time, you get 50-degree weather. I mean, when we get out in the spring for our first few rides of the year, this last year, my first ride, it was 34, I think.
Well, that's
rode
for the
first
20
time.
people that live in your state. that doesn't account for everybody else in the U.S.
It's true. You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
Fucking tundra up there, man.
It's cold, for sure.
So, Mike, is the human trafficking that bad there? Tell us the truth.
I am not
So-
expecting that question.
I don't know what's that bad. I mean, it hasn't happened to me yet, but I'm pretty careful about where I go. But no, I have a teenage daughter who's just started her second year in college, and she worked at Walmart. And there would be times that if they would have people follow them around the store and try and talk to them that were obviously not locals, could barely speak English. And they had a system where if you were concerned, a manager or 2 or 3 coworkers would walk you to your car and make sure you got in your car and got safely on your way. I work at a place that is literally, borders I-44 at an exit ramp. And, you get all kinds of people who come off of the interstate who are either hitchhiking or their cars broke down or whatever else. And it is, we've been on lockdown a few times because of incidents that have happened with people that have, had an incident with law enforcement in the area because it's something there that we're just passing through at the exit ramps. So there's a fair amount of crime that is associated with those interstate highways and 44. And, from what I understand, the trafficking, I think it's a real thing. I just haven't personally experienced it.
So what road was Bob broken down on?
High
I
traffic
forget
road
which one
boulevard.
that was.
Yeah.
Tongue Punch Drive.
Yeah, we had a breakdown, and
Yeah,
supposedly it was.
So yeah, we Bob had a breakdown. When we were down there, Mike, and a group of bikers pulled over to see if he was doing okay, and he said he was good. And they were like, "That's great because you guys need to get out of here as soon as you can because this is the main thoroughfare for human trafficking." And it was a girl that he was talking to, and she looked right at him and she said, "And you're exactly what they want because you're an earner."
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she was a local on meth.
She was on a bike, Mike. I'm just saying she was riding with a group of bikers. So
Well, I've
Well, that doesn't
never
mean she's not on
personally,
meth.
I personally have never felt I was in danger of human trafficking.
well, that's
But
good.
I might not be as good looking as Bob. It's hard to say. All in perspective.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
on a serious note, though, it's amazing where that stuff can actually happen is where you least expect it because
Yeah,
it's
that's true.
Missouri. You expect this stuff to happen in little more populated states, and it's even happened here where women and kids have been almost abducted in a strange van that's rolled into town. And my town's less than 4,000 people,
right.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
so if
think
it can
would
happen here, it can happen anywhere.
Why is it always got to be a van? Vans have bad raps, man. They're
They
just
do.
utility vehicles.
I've ridden in some kick-ass vans, dude. I played in a band. It was a fun vehicle to travel
Yeah.
in.
I lived
They
in a
get a
van
bad
down by a
rap.
river once.
Down by the river, yeah.
I believe it.
The snowy river.
Did you park it under a bridge?
Absolutely. If you're gonna have a van and be down by a river, you have to be under a bridge. There's
bridge.
No question there. No question.
They don't hear
So-
you scream under there.
That's right. So, Mike, I have a question. Do you have a good relationship with Lake of the Ozarks Harley-Davidson?
I have a fair relationship with them. I've tried to. We were looking for a used bike, and they were keeping the eye out for one, and didn't find one for us, and we bought one somewhere else. I've never bought a bike from them, but I know the owner, I know the sales manager. So, when I'll do a meet and greet at Bike Fest, and they'll probably donate some poker chips for me to give out, things like that. So we have a fair relationship. We talk and stuff, but we're not. I haven't bought a bike from them for 20 years, that kind of thing.
Sure,
Or had stuff.
sure.
I haven't had stuff serviced there, but I know most of the salespeople. I order parts there, things like that.
Sure.
Well,
we
but-
just had an on the road real bad experience with that dealership where they were very unwilling to help us. And we did the repair in their parking lot, and they didn't even come out and offer us water. It was I would say disappointing at the very least for that experience. I just didn't know what somebody that was local, if there was a better relationship there or whatnot with you. So fair
Well,
assessment. I appreciate you.
Let me provide a little data point on that because it could have been your RBF. But last year at Hogs and Frogs, I know you guys know this, but for our listeners, I was heading out to Missouri and had a blowout on my rear tire, a really bad blowout. And I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I forgot what
Was it your
highway.
O-ring?
Your pants.
Yeah, I thought it was your
What's it?
O-ring.
Yeah.
I thought,
I don't know, was it 64 or whatever that highway is, out in the middle of nowhere. It's 2 lanes on either side. Pulled off to the side, and I didn't know what I was going to do. During the process of trying to deal with it, I posted on Instagram, shit, look what I'm dealing with. And it must have been 5 minutes later, Mike reached out to me via Instagram and said, hey, man, I've got your back. I know a guy. By that time, I'd already arranged through a volunteer who stopped to help me to have the bike towed to the hotel. But Mike actually called the owner of Lake of the Ozarks and let him know who I was, what I was there for. And when I got the bike over to the dealership, they knew who I was. They expected me. They got me in and got me out as quickly as they could and took care of me.
Damn, well, I feel like we should have called Mike then.
You should have called
you,
Mike.
You probably should call Mike if you're in the Ozarks and you have a problem. Reach
Damn
out. Anybody, I don't know if you guys realize this, but I'm a member of a motorcycle rights organization. And so we have locals and we have people all over the state. And as a president of the one in my area, I have access to the presidents in the other area. And if we have somebody that breaks down in Kansas City, there's 3 locals up there I can call, and somebody up there is going to find a truck and a trailer and go help them or whatever else. And it's a big brotherhood also, just like anything else, but except it's a little more of an organized network. But, and I don't know everything that happened with your situation, Ryan, and that, but sometimes when you go in, I've gone into dealerships and they got a new guy. He doesn't know who I am. Most of the staff there knows who I am. The new guy doesn't. He looks at me like I'm, cross-eyed sometimes or something when I ask for something. And then the other guy just goes in the back and starts rummaging through stuff and brings me something. We had a pin that goes in the clutch lever somehow disappeared at a gas station during a rally, and Firecracker's clutch lever's all loose and the pin's gone there. And, I was supposed to be doing a guided ride out of their dealership that day in like 30 minutes. So they went in the back and pulled off a bunch of, loose parts, leftover stuff off of a workbench, brought it out. We found something to fit and made it happen. So sometimes it's a matter of who you know, or if they know you, if you're local or if you've got a relationship with them, I'm sure that helps. And it could be you caught them on a bad day, or maybe you caught somebody who's new, doesn't really been trained well on customer service or something else. It's hard to say, but generally I hear good things. But like everything,
if I have a breakdown or we have a breakdown any other time in the Ozarks, I'm gonna be sliding into your DMs. So
as long as it's only my DMs.
And again, I want to thank you again, Mike, for reaching out. And just so everybody knows, at the time, Mike and I hadn't met in real life at that point. We knew each other through Instagram and YouTube, but it says a lot about a person who sees another person in need and jumps straight in to see how they can help that person get out of the situation. So thanks, Mike.
Yeah, that's
You're welcome.
really incredible.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that's, I think it's also a testament to the motorcycle community in general, right? I mean, I think that's part of what we all try to do. If we can help out when we can, we do. So, but again, Mike, you reached out to him and asked for help and he made it happen. So that's good. Like I said, I'm going to make sure that my whole crew knows if something happens, slide into Mike's DMs and you'll get some help.
His fiance might have something to say about that now. though.
He
We got to talk about that too.
He said just a minute ago, he's like, as long as it's my DMs, I'm good. So we'll be fine.
Yeah, just remember, my phone goes on silent after 10 p.m. So break down
There you
before
go.
9:30.
And Mike, you mentioned Firecracker earlier, and we got to meet her too last year. Both of you guys rode out together, and she's a fellow sport glide rider. She's done amazing paint job set up on her bike now. But you guys got some news. You want to?
Yeah, we've been together. It'll be 7 years next month. Actually, like your 5 Dirty Bikers meetup falls on the same weekend as Bike Fest. And that's kind of our anniversary of starting to date. And our kids are out of high school, and we've started living together this year. And it was just she's waited long enough. It was time. So I asked her to marry me at Spearfish Canyon. We'd already had kind of discussed this stuff, but I hadn't officially done it yet because I had my own plan. And then I was like, well, we're doing it my way. You're just going to have to wait. So, so we're actually getting married next month, and we haven't announced this publicly, but our friends all know Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue.
Oh, nice.
Oh, very
That's
cool.
so exciting.
Very
Congrats.
cool. Damn, Mike, you don't waste around, man. You make a decision and just say, let's do it.
It's been 7 years, but she's dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, and so
There you go.
Very cool.
Well, congrats.
yeah, it's gonna be a good time. We start out to have, like, in Arkansas, a lot of times there's little old time photo places you can get married at with the judge or something, and have 12 people. We thought we'd do that, and then we got to looking, and our crew for BBB was like 16 from just my hometown that was going. So we're like, well, that's not going to work. So we moved it to an outdoor venue where we'd have more room. And then we invited some of our friends there in Eureka, the Switchback Bar and that. And they're like, oh, yeah, we want to come. And so last count, I think we're 30 or more plus that are going to show up. And hopefully it's not raining, because if it's raining, we're all just going to get wet. But
If it's raining, that means Ryan's there.
Yeah. Don't
Yeah.
invite Ryan if you want good weather.
you know,
Yeah, Ryan.
I know you guys blamed Ryan for the rain at Sturgis.
Yeah,
But
they did.
we also had another social media person in Sturgis that just got done with a very long ride across the country that had a lot of rain on his route. They were calling his bike the Rainmaker.
He did. They did. He was there.
And I heard it wasn't.
He brought the rain.
I heard it wasn't the bike. I heard it was Adam.
Yeah, there you go. It was Adam, not me. It was Adam.
Just give him a name.
Yeah, it was him. Yeah.
So speaking of Adam, real quick, I'm going to throw out a shameless plug for him here, and for Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue. I don't know if you guys saw the post I made on Facebook the other day. I'm doing a giveaway, but there is a new venue at Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue this year called Flatheads Rally Point. That Adam Sandoval has leased a campground. He's working with some other locals, and they're doing like a buffalo chip style venue during Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue. They're going to have concerts. Jasmine Kane, Texas Hippie Coalition, a lot of the names that you might have seen at Sturgis are going to be playing there, and camping, and you get your tickets all with the one package, or you can do tent camping and stuff like that. So that's a new thing for Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue. It's going to be pretty cool. And if you want to enter to win tickets, like a whole pass, camping and everything included, go to my Facebook page, because I'm doing a giveaway on there. I just posted it a couple days ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that sounds good. When is that again?
Cool.
That'll be the weekend after your meetup. It's like the 21st to the 24th.
Okay, cool. I know I won't be able to make that, but I do know the wife is screaming to go back to Uranus.
Boy, you all really enjoyed
Of course
your
she
rain.
is.
If you're going to make the rat run, let me know. We'll try and run into each other. The last couple of years, we've gone to Adam's Stubborn American Rally, which is the same weekend. But this year, because I have to take vacation time off to do that, and we want to go to Daytona next year, we're going to save the vacation time and probably just do the rat run on Sunday.
Yeah, I've totally burned every vacation day I have already.
Well, you don't work Sundays, right?
No.
Well, rat runs. The big day for the rat run is Sunday.
Oh, okay. That sounds cool. No,
Have you ever been to the rat run?
No, I haven't.
Well, it's about 2,000 bikers showing up and rolling from one bar to another, and at the end, there'll be a stunt rider, or the kind of like the Wall of Death thing, but in the cage, or burnout contest. A lot of clubs in the St. Louis area go, but I've never seen any club problems or anything like that. It's there's a video on how it got started. I actually did one to kind of retain the story, but a guy named Joe Sparrow, who was at Sturgis, started the rat run years ago, and it was called the Gas and Go back then. But it's been going on for like 35 years.
No.
So it's a pretty cool event.
Nice. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people don't know how in tune, especially in the club scene that the Midwest is. I mean, there's more around here than a lot of people may realize, and it's probably bigger than California.
Well, we now have an HA house in Missouri, which has just started a few years ago. So we're getting more and more clubs in the state in the last couple of years of different ones.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us about your Sturgis experience. So what was it like? When did you arrive? What did you do when you were there? Kind of walk us through that.
So we arrived on Sunday night. We wanted to get there like Sunday afternoon, but it was really it was still daylight, but it's almost 6 o'clock when we got there. We stay at a house outside of Leeds, so we stopped, got groceries, went to the house, unloaded, made dinner, and just chilled there because we'd rode 150 miles of rain that morning, did the Badlands, it dried out, but everybody was just kind of wore out fighting the rain. So we just stayed home Sunday night. Monday, we got up and rode Spearfish Canyon, and I proposed. Then we went and sat at Black Hills Harley-Davidson and watched it rain with everybody else on Monday afternoon. Tuesday, I went out and rode CVOs with some guys from Harley-Davidson, and that was pretty cool. That was you'd be surprised how much they're paying attention to channels. You really would. Yeah.
So what did you think of the CVOs? Which ones did you ride both, or did you just ride one?
I rode the Street Glide about 60 miles out to Pactola Reservoir, and then we swapped, and I rode the Road Glide back.
Okay.
And then we stopped and had lunch on the way. One of the things, and that's actually the first time I've ever rode a shark nose. I am not a shark nose guy, but that was the first time I ever rode one. And one of the things that is notable about it is they have fixed the handlebars to some degree. The Street Glide handlebars are still too low, the same as they've been in the past, but the Road Glide handlebars have a higher setting, height than what they've had in the past, and they have more adjustability. So the handlebars on the Road Glide are actually pretty good from the factory on the CVO.
Are they? Do they still cant your wrist inward too much?
I didn't notice that. They have 27 degrees of rotation at the riser level forward and back, so you can adjust for your reach and height a little bit that way.
That's good. Yeah, but the fairing still looks like the fairing looks.
I don't like the fairing. You don't like it?
Have you seen it in person?
Yeah.
And you think the fairing goes with the design of the rest of the Road Glide?
I think so. And I think 28 degrees of rotation sounds glorious.
27. Don't stretch it.
27.
You might stretch it.
Yeah.
I'm not a Road Glide fan, fixed fairing fan. There was some things with the instrumentation. So the controls are very similar to the Rev Max bikes, not what we've been used to in the past. The new mobile Sky OS or whatever, Skyline OS, I didn't find it, and of course I didn't get to play with it a lot. We're on a curvy road and stuff, but I didn't find it super user-friendly. It is not the same, it's not like an upgrade of the existing OS. It's a different interface. I couldn't find if you want to find a playlist and search and pick a playlist off your phone, I couldn't do that without touching the screen. I couldn't find a way to do it through the buttons. I'm sure it's there, but it just wasn't intuitive enough. And for me to not find it intuitively is kind of a big thing because computers are what I do for a profession, actually. So,
well, I'm not a Street Glide guy. I just never have liked them. But I saw the CVO at the 120th. What do you think about the new fairing on the Street Glide?
Well, the first time I saw it, I said, "Why are they copying the Chieftain?" But it has grown on me. I think it's like a lot of things. You get, it's different, it's new. It takes a while. Then after you just see it so much, you kind of get used to it, and it's not such a big deal. And I think this is going to be that growing pain for the looks. The saddlebags I actually think are better when you look at them from opened up and what you can put in them or how they're shaped. I think the saddlebags are an improvement. I'm not sure the hand controls are an improvement. But they're so different that it's going to be an adjustment. I like the Street Glide. I really like the 121 motor. I mean, everybody's going to say, well, it doesn't sound like a Harley. Well, every iteration we get sounds less and less like the traditional potato because of the EPA. But the power range, like from 2100 RPM up, the torque is there through all the gears that you don't feel like you need to downshift. You can just crack back on the throttle, and it's got really good even power pull through the low RPMs even. So I like the motor so far. Like I said, sound aside, for everybody that thinks it's going to sound like a Panhead or an Evo, it's not. But other than that, I like the bike enough that I did a video about this before I ever rode it. It's like, okay, how long is it going to be for they bring enough of this stuff down to a more affordable model for me before I trade in?
Yeah, I hope that fairing design trickles down into the specials.
One of the guys at our dealers, I mean, he said the same thing. He's like, hopefully within a few years they'll trickle at least some of it down, but
well, and
it's hard
there's
to say when.
And there's things like for the CVO that may not trickle down or anytime soon. So when everybody was speculating on those leaked photos, there's this plate over the transmission, and everybody would say, "Oh, it's going to get a reverse." That's a sensor, so you can tell what gear you are in even when you pull the clutch in. So if you pulled the
Nice.
clutch in and you're coming to a stoplight and you're jamming down through the gears and you think you've hit first, but you're still in second, you now have an indicator without having to let the clutch in.
Oh, that's nice.
Now,
That is
and that's a
nice.
nice feature, but I could see that being a feature that stays on the CVO.
Yeah. Well, I hope they move the fairing down because I think they absolutely 100% killed it with the Street Glide fairing.
And the weirdest thing about riding it, Dave, and everybody, was that there's no analog gauges anymore. They're gone. Everything's digital
the
now.
screen is super cool,
And
though.
it's
But
huge.
yeah,
It's like it's
different to
about
get
the
used
size
to,
of
I'm
the
sure.
screen in my Kia. Yeah, it's big.
Mhm.
And it's customizable. You can have
Yeah.
speedometer and tachometer and map in the middle. Or you can have just speedometer and a big map on the right, things like that. And one of the questions I asked him, and I'll share it with you guys. It's not a big secret. I'm going to put it in a video, but a lot of people were asking if the screen has a problem and doesn't work, will that put the bike in some kind of limp mode? Are they still going to be able to ride it? And they said you could absolutely ride it. You're just not going to know how fast you're going or what RPM you're at or anything else. You're not going to have any instrumentation whatsoever, but the bike will run and operate as normal.
Sounds perfect for me.
Yeah.
You like to ride?
If you wanted an analog gauge, could you add it? I mean, I know that sounds really stupid, but in that scenario,
Why in the world?
I told you
wanna
it
do
sounds
that.
stupid.
I
I'm just
wasn't gonna
saying, if
say it.
somebody wanted to
So-
add
so
one
what-
down
so
to
what
like
happens
the
when
tank or something, could you do that?
Well, let's look at Dakota Digital. I mean, what if somebody decides they wanted, they already had Dakota Digital or they wanted that, they wanted to retrofit that in or something else for the extra features. My understanding, and I'm not a mechanic. I mean, I do some of my own, work on my bike and stuff, but from what I understand, all the gauges now are all controlled by the computer. I mean, they're not mechanical gauges.
Yeah.
So if they're being controlled by a computer, I'm sure you could take that cluster out and put some other kind of instrumentation, whether it's, an analog gauge that's digitally controlled or a Dakota Digital gauge or something else in there.
Well, that's why you can swap out your quote unquote analog gauge, plug it in, and the Dakota Digital gauge is going to read your mileage and everything right on there, transfers over there because it's all saved in ECM on your bike.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't
So
need
it's just
anything
like an
that
FP3
complicated.
or something like that. When you plug it in, it
Yep.
can read everything on
Yep.
the bike, even stuff that Harley doesn't offer because
Yep.
it's all.
Oh,
already
Dave,
there.
you love tech. The more tech that
Well,
they put
no,
on the bike,
what
the
I was-
happier you're going to be.
What I was going to say is I just want the ability to change the firmware to set the default screen on my fucking Road Glide so that when it pops up, it doesn't go to the goddamn AM radio I never listen to.
Tony just
You should
wants
be
that,
familiar with AM radio, Dave.
Tony just wants that hand job tech.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think for that type of money, it's the least they could do.
I think that
It's fair.
I think the digital display would be something, at least that level of digital display would be something else they could keep to CVOs. I mean, look at Street Glides versus Street Glide Specials.
Yeah.
They have different displays. They could have a smaller, less customizable display on a standard model and keep that display for the CVO.
Right.
The transmission gear shift indicator, some of those little things I think they could keep down the CVO. The question will be the engine and, how long before they roll that down, because traditionally the CVOs had the bigger engine until we got the STs with the 117 and they were kind of tied. And now we've pushed that back up. If they roll that back down again right away to another model, I see CVO owners are going to be like, why am I buying a CVO when they're going to give it to everybody else next year?
I don't think
our
they're going to do
local-
the 121. I look at them to VVT the 117.
Our local dealer here, Mike, and I don't know if you're seeing it up there, but our local dealer here is doing a deal right now. If you buy a 2022 touring model, so Road King, Street Glide, Road Glide, you get a 131 included with your purchase.
Yeah, my dealer does that too every November.
Yeah, I've seen that promotion. Actually, I think it's interesting that when Jochen Zeitz took over in 2000, he cut all of these promotional discounting things off the board. He didn't want dealerships to discount bikes, no sales, all this. And now,
It's all coming back.
It's all coming back. And he did that pre-COVID. So it wasn't just because of COVID. He did that, really like first step in the door. He's like, that's not going to happen. We're going to change this. We're going to change that. And I think, I saw an article. I pay attention to the financial stuff. I saw an article the other day talking about financially wise, people that have invested in Harley-Davidson 5 years ago and kept their money there haven't seen any better returns from it than anything else. And is it a good investment? So it may be big stock prices and sales are down. I expect this year. I know they were, down last quarter. I expect them to be down this quarter. So we'll see. I think, that, things are coming back around. Hopefully some of the other things will come back around. I know you guys were talking in the last podcast about Sportster sales and if dealers have them or don't have them and what they're pushing. And, one of the things I heard was that they have less margin on those lower entry bikes. That's why dealers don't want to push them.
Oh, yeah.
Harley's actually cut the margin down from that. So they make less off of a $14,000 Sportster now than they made off of an $8,000 or $9,000 883 4 years ago.
Yeah. Well, and that's the first thing that goes with any type of change in your market is discretionary spending, right? So as soon as the market turn hits, discretionary spending goes down, and that's going to affect people's, what they're spending on motorcycles. That's just a fact.
They've really been pushing the touring bikes the last several months. They've had the same promotion going on since like May or June, and it's going on until September. It's like a trade-in credit and cash back. It's been going on a while. They just keep extending it every month, and I just see new assets come out that are different looking that we need to help promote to customers. That come in, trade your bike in, we'll give you this much more for it if you trade in on either a Pan Am or one of the Grand American touring bikes. It's
and I wonder if from a dealership perspective too, that's not a win-win, right? Because their margin has got to be great on a used bike that they can turn around and sell because Harleys hold their value so well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yep. So you get them to come in and buy a brand new bike, but then you're going to turn around and resell that used bike for a premium price. Their margin's got to be still really good.
Yeah, well, I know one of the local dealers in our area for probably at least the last 6 weeks has been running a 115% or 120% of Kelly Blue Book.
Oh, sure.
Trade-in type stuff. And those crate motors, by the way, that some of the dealers are throwing in or giving you with a new bike, you still have to pay the dealer for the installation, which is going to cost you about $5,000 or so.
And if you didn't see my video on that 135, there is a caveat that there's no warranty on it if you don't have it installed by a dealer that is certified to install it.
Yeah.
Well, and I wonder with that warranty stuff, Mike, that they've gone through recently, whether or not that would actually hold up in court.
But most of that wouldn't have never held up to court. Even this whole big deal. There's a Magnuson something act. I can't remember. I've always gone to a local independent shop, and he's always said, in the end, they have to prove your upgrade caused the failure.
Mm-hmm.
Before they can not cover it under warranty, no matter what. But they tell people this so that
it dissuades them.
Yeah, they don't pursue it. They just figure it's not worth fighting Harley-Davidson. But yeah.
Wow.
For sure.
Fuckers.
Well,
let's talk about something else.
Yeah,
Mike,
man, fuck them cocksuckers.
The whole world wants to know, how long is your fucking beard?
4.5 years.
4.5 years worth.
His beard's 4.5 years. Has it reached terminal length yet, Mike?
No, it's I trim it. It still grows a little bit. It did slow down considerably after, about after 3 years, the rate of growth slowed down. But 4.5 years, it's kind of I've never told this story publicly, but I started growing it because I was actually going through a custody battle, and the judge kept giving her continuances, and this was during, right before COVID, and there was no reason for it. And I mean, we were over 2 years and protection orders had ran out and this and that, and he's still giving her continuances. And so I was going to grow my beard out because I knew I wasn't going to see him for a year. And I was going to show up as mangy and nasty as I could look with a beard as long as I could get it. And if he said anything, I'm going to say, well, last time you wanted to see me in court, I was clean shaven. That's how long it's been. And if I got a contempt of
Nice.
court, I didn't care. And then ended up getting things settled out of court, after 18 more months or something. And she likes it, so I let it grow.
There you go.
4.5 years worth.
Yeah. Speaking of questions, we got some Discord questions to get to we didn't get to last week,
Oh,
plus some
yeah.
for our guest.
Yeah, we should probably stick with the guest ones. I think we got a good turnout. Let me see if I can pull them up.
Yeah, we got some good ones here.
Fucking questions. Why does everybody have so many questions?
Because Dustin
what
asked
we
them if they had
do.
questions for Mike.
It's like when I get home, that's all my wife asks is questions, questions, more questions.
Me and Tony have a lot of the same attitude. I will say something to Firecracker like I talked to my mom today, and she'll say, "Are they this or that?" And I say, "I don't know." Well, why don't you know? Because I didn't ask.
Yeah.
Don't ask questions that I don't want to know the answer to.
There's always questions.
Sorry, I just realized there's a conversation that started that I didn't delete. Everyone keeps calling me the police officer.
You
of
didn't crack the
Discord.
whip this time.
God damn
Yeah.
it.
Let's see. Vinny Madrock says, first, congrats on the engagement. And then, how do you keep that sweet beard looking so damn good?
You know what? I very maybe once every 2 weeks will use like a beard shampoo and oil thing in it. But when I'm riding, I can't put oil in it because it'll end up all over my glasses or whatever else. That stuff doesn't stay good. Wax is a little better, but I just keep it clean. And, I use maybe special beard stuff on it every couple of weeks, and that's it. And other than that, it's just, I have a natural sweater. So the beard hair comes naturally as well.
You and Tony have a lot in common.
We don't like questions and we're hairy fuckers. There it is.
Yeah. There it is.
Do you, I don't know, this is probably a stupid question, but do you shape the beard at all? Like, I know you said you trim it, but like, shape?
Sometimes you'll see in a video, like it'll have a funny wave under my chin. Because if I ride, I end up rubber banding it, and it'll really hold that right there in the chin. So I don't know that I shape it, but I do straighten it with a heat iron, a beard brush that's designed for that to get that curl out of it from the beard bands and stuff.
Cool. Obviously,
Cool.
I don't have a beard, so it's kind of fascinating.
Well,
you need
People
to work
grow
on that,
nice
Brittany.
ones. I mean,
you
I could take some testosterone, I guess, but I think I'll not do that.
If you ride a street glide, you will find without it banded that it does this in front of your face.
I
down
bet.
the road. The way the air lifts up around the fairing.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I remember seeing you the last time when we were down in Uranus, and you had your beard tied, and I wasn't
It never gets
sure,
old.
I wasn't sure if it was from that, or you wanted to keep it tied up so you didn't get it, so it didn't become a bug trap.
No, I got the street glide. That Clockworks windshield catches most of those bugs. I don't have much problem with that. At least not below the eyebrows. But
So it's the
it's just-
updraft.
it's the
you're trying
updraft.
to
I mean,
remove.
it's long enough that it'll blow up and completely cover my eyes and my visibility. So
Did you
Blinded
guys
by the
ever
updraft.
consider getting married in Uranus?
no. No, we've done a lot of things in Uranus, but marriage wasn't one of them.
I didn't know if anybody there was
Touche.
okay.
Gotta draw the line somewhere, man.
Oh, goodness.
You guys, I'm old enough and I'm local. I know what Uranus was before it was a fudge factory.
Yeah,
There you
I
go.
remember.
There you
I remember
go.
you telling me all about that last year in the
Yeah.
parking lot.
He
Yep.
he knew about Uranus before it was legal.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Good,
All right,
married,
Brittany,
getting married in a
next.
fudge factory.
All right, the next one is from Blake. He says he would like to hear a discussion or debate between us and Mike on Cardo versus Senna,
That's
and
not a
kind of like
question.
compare.
That's not a question.
Well, I've never used a Senna, so I can't tell you.
There
Well, there you go.
We're all
There you
Cardo
go.
people.
We're all Cardo.
There you
Cardo
go.
people.
And
He was
I've had
curious too if you use if you prefer the comms versus the sound system in your bike.
I only use the Cardo for comms. I have a $2,000 plus sinister sound system, on the bike. So the quality of the Cardo is okay. I mean, I've used them, on the DR650 that didn't have music when I owned it, and I use it on the Dyna some, but because the comms is really the only reason I would have them, and that we usually only use them on long trips. I mean, if we're doing a local ride and we know where we're going, we don't need comms and we don't want to talk. Again, don't ask questions. The comm is really for long trips. Like, hey, we're going to go a whole tank of gas before we stop. If you need to stop before then you get me on the comm and let me know. Or so, like at Sturgis, we had a safety vehicle. We were actually Friday night going up and there was a storm blowing across Missouri, and I'm sure it hit Dustin, and they came on, I guess, and said it was dropping tornado type activity up north of Columbia, Missouri. And we were going to be in its path. And so people back home were messaging our Facebook group. We have a group of people, we all ride together and had this, chat group, and they were messaging them, letting them know, well, we're all on the bikes except the safety vehicle. Safety vehicle seeing the messages, they turn around and call me on the Cardo and say, hey, we got a bad storm up ahead. We might want to find a place to take shelter till it passes. So they're great for those kinds of things. I have good luck with my Cardo. I don't know if any of you guys remember or met Mike Bodine, but me and him can talk on the Cardos okay. But Firecrackers either got a janky Cardo or it's that Sport Glide or her helmet, because when she talks to me, all I got is garbly-gook wind noise and maybe a syllable or two.
Sounds like
We've
she's
had
got a
really
Senna.
good luck with Cardos.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
It
we
could
have
be
really good luck.
the way it's set up in the helmet. I mean, we really like our Cardos, but it is kind of like you have to get the mic, I feel like, in the right spot sometimes.
Well,
Otherwise,
they-
you
So
just can't
here's
hear
the
people.
debate: buy a Cardo, fuck Senna. There you go.
There you go.
The
And
only
the
thing-
audio and the new Edge.
It is good,
Cardo
yeah.
It's really
is,
good,
Is
yeah.
amazing.
Well,
the
we
only
have
thing I would say about Cardo is that when you're using a Cardo and you have Tony on comms, be prepared for the bitching, because it's going to be nonstop.
fuck.
It's nonstop.
Hey, I'm
But at
gonna
least
defend
it's not
Tony.
fucking questions.
There you go. It's not questions.
Oh,
There
you
you
just
go.
wait till FDBM.
Yeah. So
The
we have
whole
the
ride.
we have the Pack Talk Bold, and if you didn't know, the new intercom feature doesn't work with the Pack Talk Bold. It doesn't get the firmware update to be able to do the intercom feature.
Yep.
So I was a little disappointed with that.
Are you sure? Are you talking about the recording, the multi-rider recording? Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's got an older version of Bluetooth
Yeah.
and an older processor.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
When the
limitation.
Bold come out, was it like 18?
I don't feel like
It's
it's
been a
very
minute,
old.
man.
Yeah, the bold and
3
old
or
one.
4 years.
Yeah, but
for-
2 years
for
ago
tech.
it was still their top of the line
Yep.
Yeah.
model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I bought the top of the line model 2 years ago, and now it's obsolete.
Yeah.
But Mike, you work in tech too, so you
Yeah.
you know the deal, right? It
Yeah, I get
doesn't
it.
matter what industry or whatever. You got to leave the old behind at some point.
Yeah.
The edge is a solid product. Dave and I both bought one this year, and
Yeah, it's
I
nice.
bought
oh,
one
and Tony
too.
got one too. Oh, and Brittany got one too.
Yep,
Yeah,
I caved and bought one because
Yeah,
I
they're
really
good.
wanted to try out that recording feature.
yeah.
And the
it's-
speakers are better. So Jared and I bought the Slims. I'm pretty sure we bought it the year that they, announced the Slim version, and it's been really good. But yeah, those speakers in the Edge are
Put the
Really
upgrade
nice.
speakers in, because the speakers the Edge ships with are the standard JBLs that the Bold shipped with. But you put the upgraded, I think they're like 5 millimeters bigger. They're amazing.
And
I
having
don't
a
know,
helmet
mine
that
are-
is designed for the speakers, have the
Yep.
recess in them so they're not, pinching your ears and stuff like that. All
Yeah.
that stuff makes a difference. Just like you're talking about setting up the helmet. Firecracker's helmet she bought for looks, and it's not probably been the perfect helmet. I'm running the Scorpion modular helmet, and of course I've got the Batwing in front of me, and it works really well for me when I need to talk. I talk to people on the phone; they can hardly tell I'm on a bike.
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
that Gringo S. Well, I still have it, but it's more like a reminder to keep up on my shelf, because that's the one I had my backup accident with the truck on a few years ago. That thing was not made for comp speakers.
So can I ask Dustin and Brittany a question, since they're Sport Glide riders?
yeah.
Sure, yeah.
So have you seen Clockworks' FXRP fairing?
I have.
Yes.
It fits the lowrider, which means it fits the Sport Glide.
Yes,
Me
it
and Brian
does.
Clock had a conversation about that. Would you put something like that, consider something like that on your Sport Glide, especially
Yes.
if you were putting 10,000 miles a year on it?
Yes.
I don't know. I still really like the look of the Harley Lowrider ST fairing the best, and I would love to buy it and put it on. But I know for that in particular, I think I would have to figure out a way to mount it, because the bracket I think Like the Sport Glide wasn't made to take that fairing. You know what I
Well,
mean?
same frame as the Lowrider S. The problem, from what I understand, is they don't want to sell you a Lowrider ST fairing unless you have a VIN for a Lowrider ST.
I've heard
Correct.
that, and I haven't
They're
explored it yet. Yeah.
Actually, Mike, you can buy the fairing. It's the mounting bracket that's VIN locked.
That's what I've heard, but I
Yep.
haven't
You
verified.
can buy the fairing, but the mounting bracket's VIN locked.
And I know, like early on, Blockhead did that install on his regular lowrider, and he had to do some custom stuff to get it to fit on that.
Yeah, that
So
that
I
clockwork
feel like
fairing
there
is
may
dope,
be, yeah.
Yeah, I just thought for her the Clockworks fairing solves some more wind noise, wind issues. I mean, she bought that bike in February of last year with 7,300 miles on it, and she crossed 20 or 21,000 on the Sturgis trip. It was a 3,000-mile trip for us, so she's putting some miles down. She's going to keep putting those kind of miles down. So I thought a fairing might help her with the wind. It also would allow her to have a better audio system.
Yeah.
You have a place you can mount your phone besides on the handlebars. You know,
I'd
Yeah.
love to see Memphis Shades do something like that because they I've been running their fairing for a long time. I had one on my Sportster, and I have a Road Warrior on my Road King right now, and I'd love to see them do a larger size fairing. I'd be all over that.
yeah, I ran the Road Warrior on the Dyna that was her Dyna before. That's actually my Dyna now. She's decided earlier this year that she wasn't going to ride it since she got her Sport Glide painted purple. So, she wanted to sell it, and I know the history of the bike for the last 8 years, and it's carbureted, twin cam, sounds like the potato. So it's low miles. So I'm like, well, then I guess I'm buying it. So it's now my Dyna.
There you go.
You should have waited till you got married, and you just have it. And you wouldn't have to buy it from her.
Right.
No, premarital asset, brother. Thinking that.
All right. The next question is from Volts.
The votes.
He says, question for the quartet of unclean motorcyclists and Tony. What would I be missing out if I only get a cam kit but not a cam chest for my Softail M8?
Well,
All the good stuff.
all the good stuff, yeah. If you just buy the cam and you don't buy a cam chest, you don't get the cam plate, you don't get the oil pump, you don't get the new tappets, you don't get the tappet covers, or not tappet covers, the tappet
The
cuffs,
guides.
the
Yeah,
SNF's tappet cuffs that are machined. You don't get any of the cool guy parts. You just get the
You
cam.
don't get any of the push rods either. I mean,
Yeah,
you
you
still
don't
got to
get
go
any
buy
push
some of that
rods.
stuff.
I mean, that's just it, right? I mean, you get the cam chest, you get a bundle.
You get a bunch.
Yeah,
of
you get
If you
everything.
get
You
the
get your
cam, you still have to
gaskets,
get the
everything.
other stuff
Yeah.
without the oil cooler. You
Yeah.
know,
Well, I mean, you
Or the
can
oil
use
pump.
your
No, you can use
use
your-
everything except for the only thing you'd have to replace would be your push rods and
Push
your
rods.
gaskets.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and I would say, and I don't have a lot of experience with the M8s, but from what I've seen, the oil pump is on the earlier models were a problem. So
Yep.
Oh,
if
the
you're going to get
earlier
an
ones, yeah.
upgraded oil pump with the cam chest, and you have a 2018 to 2020, I would definitely go that route and get that oil pump upgraded built into that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
aren't they all plastic?
No,
What's
it's
that?
not plastic.
No.
It
No.
just
No.
doesn't. It just doesn't. It
Doesn't
doesn't move
scavenge
enough
pump-
oil.
the
Doesn't
oil
scavenge
does.
enough
Yeah.
out.
And
I
you know how
know-
you can the easy way to tell too is that as soon as you open up your cam chest, if you rotate your back tire with the stock Harley stuff in there, you can just you see all the parts move and nothing happens. You put that S&S stuff in there and you rotate the back tire and oil just comes puking out. You can see how much more it scavenges oil. It's a huge difference. It's a great upgrade. I personally, having Tony and I did mine. I should say Tony did mine and I watched. But Nick and I did his on his bike, and so we've done a few now. That just buying the whole cam chest is the way to go. You just get all the cool guy parts, and you get all of the kind of the shit that maybe Harley could have done a little bit better or spent some more time on. S&S just improved in their shit's bulletproof. So
Then you get everything
There
you
you go.
need. I mean,
Yep.
they give you really everything you need except for
Yep.
if you want to do an oil change. But
yeah, I think there's only 2 bolts I think that you reuse when you redo that on the Harley kit, besides what holds your cam cover on.
yeah.
All right, next one is Who Me Matt says, what do you always have or take with you on the bike? The things that you have for short rides and long rides, your essentials.
Mike, you want to tackle that first?
Sure. I got 3 things that are always on the bike, no matter what. First is a first aid kit. Second is an air pump and a plug kit. And third is a battery jumper. Well, actually, I have 4 because I have a bag of tools that are always in the bike too. But I take a battery jumper, an air tool tube kit, and a first aid kit. And my first aid kit's not going to help you if you burn your leg on the exhaust or if you cut your finger. But if you wreck, I've got tourniquets, cotton claws, all the things that will keep you alive until the ambulance gets there. So my first aid kit's really more of a trauma kit. But like I said, I don't really care if you're a dumbass and you ride in shorts and you burn your leg. That's on you. I'm not, that's not what it's for. But if you get hit by a car and a mirror stem punctures your lung, I can, put a chest seal on it. So that's what I
There
carry.
you go.
I like that.
Dustin, what do
Five.
you carry on your bike?
I always carry the air moto pump and a plug kit. I always got zip ties. If I was to say every day, not if I do a longer trip, I'll put a tool kit in the bike, and then usually like a towel, microfiber towel.
Those are a must.
Yeah.
Bugs.
Yeah.
The bugs are bad this time of year.
Bugs are bad.
Bug slide and microfiber towel
Yeah,
are
that's a must.
mandatory
yeah.
for Tony.
Fuck the first aid kit.
Yeah. Dave, what do you have in your bike?
I think the only other thing I would throw in is I always have my pair of gaiters and my rain suit and my 10-liter compression sack. It just takes up the back.
A
Little
10-liter
piece.
compression sack. That
Yeah.
sounds like it's painful.
It's gets that suit down to like that big.
Yeah. Yep.
It doesn't take up hardly any room in my my saddlebag.
Yep. So I'm the same way as Dave. I always
And
carry
my 5
rain-
dirty biker decals. Sorry, Ryan. 5 dirty
look at
biker
this guy.
decals.
I always carry rain gear with me. The gaiters now has been added to my kit. I have a tool kit that I always carry with me. I usually carry the travel size bug slide with some spray. And very often I don't really clean my bike so much on a ride, but I will clean the face shield of my helmet because I like to keep that clean. And so that's usually what I use that travel bug slide for when I'm traveling is to do that. I need to add
Dude, hang on.
a
I'm gonna
pump
call,
and a plug kit.
Can I call you out on that?
What's that?
Because
What's
I
that?
have seen you seriously clean the fuck out of your bike with bug slide when you get somewhere. I mean,
I have done it absolutely,
Hey,
but I'm
there's-
saying like,
there's nothing
but
wrong with
if I'm on the road and I stop at a gas station, I'll clean my helmet. I don't clean my
right at a
my-
gas
Yeah.
station. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't clean my bike when I'm stopping like that, but my helmet I clean almost every stop because I like to be able to say I don't like the bugs all over my my face shield.
You do not want to take a horse
So-
fly the size of a silver dollar to the helmet. It sucks.
No.
I do actually carry some stuff in my bike, as surprising as it may be.
To get
Okay.
to
I
the
do
gas
have.
station.
I do now have
Peggy
a microfiber, and I don't have bug slide, but I have a glasses cleaner spray, so I can clean off my visor because I was horrible about doing that in the past. I always have my riding gloves with me. I have a kickstand puck thing, whatever you call those.
Yeah.
I have a plug kit now that I believe has like a little air cartridge thing. So we don't have a pump, but we have these like little cartridges.
Little CO2 cartridge.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm trying to think what else. I think that's pretty much it.
I carry a lot of the other stuff like the gloves and the microfiber.
Yeah.
But those are not the things that like I worry about being.
They're
in
not
the
like
bike.
your essentials.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Well, I'm the opposite of you, Mike. I'm completely unprepared for
Because you've
anything
got Jerry.
bad to happen.
He's carrying all the other shit in his
Yeah.
bike, right?
No, we don't have like shit in our bags.
But the first aid kit is for me. I did a stop the bleed class, and so I've actually had training on using the cat and using the clotting gauze and stuff like that. And we were at Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue, and we come up on an accident where a dude smoked the back of a trailer that had one of those gates on, and he's got a gash across his forehead where he hit that gate. And it took 5 minutes to talk him into taking his shirt off of it to let it look at it, and his whole forehead sagged. I mean, it was deep.
Yeah.
And he would not let us doctor him or do anything on it. So we stayed until we heard the ambulance coming over the hill, and then we got our bikes out of the way. But I mean,
That's smart. I like that idea. I might look into it.
Yeah, I actually carry a first aid kit, but I like that idea of a trauma kit. I
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
really thought about it that
Well,
that
because
way. I
it's
got the
like you
band-aids
said, a
and the
first
fucking
aid kit isn't gonna do shit for you. Like, I mean, yeah, it's nice if you cut your finger on a piece of paper, but it's not gonna help you if you rear end.
Well, it's
someone
going to
or
do better than
someone-
what you're packing around, which is fucking nothing.
That's
microfiber
debatable
cloth.
because
Have you guys seen the new med kit that they started advertising on Law Abiding Biker? I just got an email on that. Like,
No,
today
I've got
or
a
not.
video. I've got a video and on my Amazon stores, like my med kit with all the different parts. I built my own after taking that class. So
yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Very nice.
I'll tell you the one thing I did add is sunscreen.
You did. That's so
I
smart,
did.
Tony.
I added sunscreen.
Was it because of that one trip
yeah,
where you burnt
I
the
burned
shit
the
out
fuck
of yourself?
out of my arms on that day, and I was like, that'll never happen again.
Oh, I feel
In your
so
head.
touched because you know what? I had sunscreen and Tony refused to use it.
Yep. I did. I said real men don't wear sunscreen. I was wrong.
Now he has it.
Real men still get
Now he
sunburned.
keeps
Yeah.
it in his little
Real men get
fanny
melanoma.
packs. Yeah.
I've actually just started wearing more long sleeves, like a riding
Those
shirt,
moisture
you know, like a
ones.
moisture wicking riding shirt. I wear that more than anything and just keep my skin covered. It's, you know, it's kind of at a certain point. I mean, maybe I sound like an old man, but I don't know. Do I sound like an old man, Dave?
Fuck you.
I wore a Climb riding jersey that's vented, but it's that material all the way to Sturgis both days.
Yeah.
Did you guys get a chance to check out the Dixon store in Sturgis? They're selling like UV protective long sleeve riding shirts that's that wicking material.
Yeah,
Sure.
we didn't. We didn't go in.
No,
That was
we
just
saw it.
fun
There
to
was.
go to that
I wasn't.
store.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to wait in line outside of the Dixon store
Oh,
to just
yeah.
to go in. So because they were
I-
limiting the number of customers in the store at one time, so there was a line when we
The
went
old
by. And I'm
red
like,
rope
I'm
was
not gonna
out,
wait in
Tony.
line.
I heard
What?
people were going there just
Red
to buy
rope.
dry clothes because they didn't pack enough clothes for the rain.
Oh,
Oh, they
Shoot.
I mean, I can imagine, especially if they were out at like the Chip or camping
Yeah.
or whatever. I definitely see that.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I've been
Okay,
looking
we-
at those Skull Riders moto shirts that they've got out now. They look pretty nice. I'm thinking about getting one maybe before the meetup. But-
I'm curious to know how many tents got left in Sturgis this year where people were just like, fuck it, and just got on their bike and rolled
A
away.
ton, I'm sure.
Because of all the rain and everything being soaking wet, they were just like, fuck it, I'm not even going to pack it. I'm just going to leave this here and I'm driving away.
We got to Buffalo Chip on Friday afternoon and we did the concert there Friday night, and it was actually pretty dry by then. So it depends on what day they left on, but I saw people pulling out on Wednesday, you know, things like that. I think a lot of people like Pro Monkey that have a 4-day trip back leave on Thursday morning so they
Sure.
can be back at work on Monday. So
Yeah, but
Sure.
you should have seen the pictures. I mean, people were posting that. What was that? It started raining on Thursday before the kickoff weekend. And
Saturday it
Thursday-
rained for 12
Thursday,
hours.
Friday, and Saturday.
Yeah.
And the pictures Saturday were just absolutely horrid.
Man,
we were
that's
so
just a
glad we
regular
were at a
day in
hotel.
Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
not halfway up your wheel in mud. That's not a regular day anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it floods here frequently.
So
Anyways.
Dustin, I haven't tried the Skull Riders, but I got a Beyond the Riders riding flannel, and they have a mesh shirt. And Christian, Christian, he
Yeah.
bought one of their mesh shirts. So I asked him to let me know what he thought of it, because I was thinking about that when it's too hot to wear the flannel. And he said he really liked it. He took it on the Route 66 thing. So you might reach out to him and just ask him what he thinks of it and compare them. I don't know what
mesh
they are for
shirt?
price and stuff.
Does that come with nipple rings, or is it? Or is that
It actually
He
optional?
comes
didn't
with
say
level 1 or
fishnet.
level 2 armor, depending on your preference. How much
Really?
you want to
There
spend.
you go.
Yeah. And Dave, if you want the nipple rings to go with it, you can just cut it off so it's also a belly shirt.
I didn't see
There
it.
you
They will
go.
put
Okay.
rings in you at Uranus if you would like.
Yeah, no. There's no rings.
See, Dave, you were
Uranus.
just
Anything
cut it
over there.
halfway off, and people could still see your nipple rings at the bottom.
There you go.
That's right. See, and then Tony's got sunscreen so you can lotion up your belly so it doesn't get
Yeah.
burned.
There
too.
you
Yeah.
God, that
All right, I have
sunscreen so
one
you don't
more
get the melanoma.
question. One more question for Mike. Also from Humi Matt. It says, how do you prepare a passenger for riding? I know that's not a short question.
Hold the
for
fuck
sure,
on.
but-
Yeah.
You know,
Duct tape.
Hold on.
Fuck on.
I tell them to not to try and compensate for the lean, to stay perpendicular with the bike. They stay straight up and down and let me allow for them. What I don't need them to do is to shift their weight around or change their weight in a corner when we're already in the corner. So probably that's the biggest, most important thing. I'm running a bagger, so they've got something to lean against back there. They feel fairly safe. It's not like they feel like they're going to slide off the back or anything. But that's probably the most important thing I tell them is, and tell them if I do something that makes you scared or you get nervous or you're going to hyperventilate and pass out, let me know so I could pull this thing to a stop. But other than that, that's probably it. I rode Firecracker rode the first, probably 50,000, 60,000 miles on my bike. We got together right after I got it on the back. So I've rode a passenger a lot in the last, 5 years, some before that, but I've got a lot of experience at it. But she's a really good passenger. And occasionally I ride, someone else. We went to Sturgis and a friend of mine's wife rode with me through Iron Mountain Road and Needles Highway because she doesn't like riding with her husband because he makes her nervous. But I think he tries to scare her on purpose a little bit. But she has a little 750 Spirit. She doesn't have a ton of experience, and with the crowds and those roads, she rode hers out to Devil's Tower. She rode it in Spearfish Canyon, but she didn't want to try those roads.
Smart.
So she climbed on the back with me and just sat back there.
So, Mike, let me ask you this, because this is one thing I told my wife too, especially riding a bagger, is I always told her that when I come to a stop, if she's going to move around or shift or whatever, just to give me fair warning. Did you tell Firecracker that too?
Yeah, I mean, she knew. She had some experience before we got together. She'd rode before, but yeah, I mean, if I find they're squirming around a lot, I'll say, hey, if you're gonna, if we're gonna come to a stop and you want to raise your butt up, you make sure you let me know so I can have both feet firmly planted, not just 1 foot on the ground.
Yep, yeah, that was the thing for me. Is I just, if you're gonna move around, I'm fine with it. Just give me warning so I can make sure I'm stable.
Have you guys ever seen Bert the biker dog? Was he at Frogs and Hogs when you were there, or
I don't think we
so.
saw him there.
He's
no.
from Lake of the Ozarks. You can find him on Instagram, but he's a pit. So he's a good sized dog, and he's got, I think 100,000 miles on the back of a motorcycle, but we know them and we travel with them sometimes and ride with them. And we did a ride in Northwest Arkansas for Female Ride Day, International Female Ride Day, and Firecracker and another friend of ours led it. Those two ladies took turns, but me and Bert were in the back because we would block traffic. So then we'd end up in the back of the pack. And it was the first time I saw this pit get up and flip around on his seat and face the other way. 5 minutes later, he's doing it again. I was like, wow. I mean, and he leans out and stares over the edge and, stuff. And it was like, that would make me nervous.
Yeah, right.
But I guess you get used to it like anything else. Will's a big guy and he's used to him moving around. But yeah. It's interesting to see that dog repositioning himself and moving himself around all the time when you ride behind him for 20 minutes.
Right. I'd be more worried that the dog was gonna take a bounce off the bike. That would
take a jump.
Yeah.
You see a cat, squirrel. I can get him.
Just or anything, or just that you hit a big pothole and the dog's not stable and boom, all of a sudden he blows right off the bike.
Yeah. I'm curious about this, and anybody listening, if you have any tips on this. My oldest is big enough to ride on the back of my bike, and I keep asking him every so often if he would want to try maybe just going to Grandma and Grandpa's who live 2 miles away in town here. And sometimes he's hesitant on it. Sometimes he says he wants to, and he's autistic, so there are things that worry me about him riding a loud bike because sometimes he's sensitive to noise. If there's anybody out there that is in this situation and might know how to prepare a little one with this stuff going on, please reach out to me, info@5dirtybikers.com, or find me on Instagram.
Have you ever tried like the noise canceling earplugs and stuff as far as the noise thing goes?
We haven't. I mean, it just seems like as he gets older, he gets more tolerant to noise. Because like for a while there, he could be in the same. We couldn't have him in the house when we vacuumed. So we had to take him outside.
My Firecracker had a grandson who didn't like the firework noise when he was little.
Yeah.
So I would put noise canceling shooting earmuffs on him for 4th of July, and he could watch the fireworks, but the big pop wouldn't scare him because they would muffle that with the actual noise canceling electronic versions.
I know a full face helmet would help muffle that sound up a little bit. I just didn't know if anybody might be in that situation that might have some tips. I'd be more than happy to listen and maybe take that with me. Okay, we have any more questions?
That's the ones specifically for Mike.
Okay.
There we
That's
go.
cool. Everybody, thank you for your questions. Remember, if you're not on the Five Dirty Biker Discord, it is how much, Dave?
It's fucking free.
It doesn't cost a dime.
Hey, you know what's not free?
What?
A motorcycle.
Motorcycle tickets, motorcycle raffle tickets.
Motorcycle raffle
Oh,
tickets.
nice.
I
like
just- I
that.
just-
Do you know of any particular motorcycle raffles, Mike?
I do, and I bought 2 tickets today before the show.
Nice.
So,
Thank you.
If anybody wants it more than me, you need to buy more than 2 tickets.
Oh.
We
That's right.
appreciate
I don't
all
have
of that.
I don't have Frank's money, but
We appreciate the 2-ticket purchase. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so
and,
much.
and they're
Mike.
still going to have time to get tickets on that when this airs, right, guys?
Yep.
Yep.
Got another 3 weeks.
Yep. Till through the 15th of September.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get
I
over to
won't be able to make-
5dirtybikers.com and get your tickets, everybody. We need to raise as much money as possible.
Yeah, I won't be able to make the meetup. It's actually during Bike Fest, and Firecracker's son's getting married that weekend, so I have to skip out of Bike Fest.
Oh, that's cool, dude.
Dude,
Hey, but
September is a busy month for you, man.
It's a lot of stuff going on.
So
Yeah.
September.
there's a thing, and I don't know if Dustin could ever make it to it. It's on a Saturday in September before Bike Fest. It's called Shovel Fest. So we have Shovel Fest, then Bike Fest, and then Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue, and then either Rat Run or K River, all right in a row. But Shovel
Jesus.
Fest takes place near Herman, Missouri, just south of Herman, Missouri. So that's not too far to the side of St. Louis.
that's
But
wine
it is,
country.
yeah. So this is a biker-owned bar restaurant out in the middle of nowhere, about 10 miles south of Herman, and it's all shovel heads. And I mean, everybody shows up on different bikes, but the bike show is all shovel heads, and there'll be 20 or 30 really nice shovel heads at that bike show, and they'll have a band and they'll do different things, and they raise money and give it to like Camp Hope for kids with cancer, or like last year was a newborn that had been born with some physical, things that need surgical correction, and so the money was to help them with those medical expenses and stuff.
You're very
So-
cool. Very cool. All right. I guess that's all for this episode of Five Dirty Bikers Podcast. Mike, thanks for joining us this week. It was a pleasure having you on. Before we leave, please go ahead, plug your channels, social media. Give us what you got.
Riding in the Ozarks, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok occasionally, and YouTube, of course. YouTube's main platform, but I don't just share the same thing on every one of them. I mean, like some people just post links to their Facebook video or their YouTube video on their Facebook. I try and treat each platform a little different, and put content on there that really fits that platform and that audience.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Well, thanks again. Congratulations on the engagement again. Tell Firecrackers the same for us, will you please? And everybody, till next week, keep it dirty.